We have no new minutes, but we have two cases to review. The first case is 2194, the Winslow case, the decision rather. Anyone have any questions, comments, or suggested changes? Do we?
I hate to do this, but I really have not thoroughly reviewed it. I would like, I don't know if we can do this. I promise to review it at the end of this meeting, and if I have no problems with it, will signal my assent. But given the issues that were raised and my intense curiosity about them, and the subtleties and what did one of the decisions say? Something about the arcane or obscure nature of the wording of the statute. I would like to be able to read it, and I didn't, and I apologize.
Okay. Well, well, whatever you want to do, I guess I'll defer to you to get back to me, and then I'll get back to Sibel when if we have to. Well, the only issue is you're tying it up. They have to wait 20 days after we.
Yeah, no, I feel really badly about it. If there's, I wish I could multitask, but it's not the sort of thing I can do that with at the moment. Again, my apologies.
Okay, so we'll hold that off. The other decision was number 2196, the Bali Neck Inn. Are there any comments or questions or concerns about that decision as written? Any suggested changes? All right, then we don't take a vote on those because we don't have to vote, but it's a courtesy that we review it at the board meeting. So we'll consider BNI. So Sibel, this goes to what we were talking about as your new and noble duties as the clerk. At your convenience, if you could stop by the clerk's office and sign that decision, then they can stamp it and it starts the tolling of it.
Okay.
You might, however, wait until Jen gets back. She isn't working this week. Theoretically,
When does she get back?
I don't know. She's out sick.
She's on the call.
I'll be
Oh.
there. Sorry, I'll be there on Monday at some point, but sorry, buddy, Mama's gonna do this. So sorry. I'll be there at Monday, but the girls can print it for you.
Okay, very good. I'll do it Monday.
Yeah, well, you should call the clerk's office before you set out, Sibel, to save you a. Thanks, Jen. I'm sorry to see. I'm glad to see you on the call. I hope you're feeling better. So then the new business, we have two cases tonight. The first is case 2197, William Ballou. Is someone representing Mr. Ballou with us?
He's here. I just let him in.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, Bill Ballou here. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you, Bill. Yes, yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bill, why don't you tell us, why don't you lead us through and talk about your application, what you're seeking and what the issues are?
Oh, great. Well, thank you. And thank you to the entire board. I appreciate the opportunity here. Hopefully this is very straightforward. I actually applied, I'm actually just reapplying for the same application that I did. I don't remember the year, a few years ago it was.
2017.
Thank you very much. And so I received the approval. So this is just reapplying the same thing because I did not do the work because unfortunately my contractor took off with the down payment that I gave him. And I spent a couple years trying to track him down. Anyway, so I decided to go back to the project and I'm simply reapplying because the project, the permit had expired. I think I forgot the time period, but I'm well past it. So I'm just simply reapplying.
It's 2 years.
Thank you.
2 years time.
And shall I want me to talk quickly about what the
Yeah, why don't
project?
you explain why don't you explain the issue and you didn't give us a plot plan Mr. Baloo. And you're, I'm glad you didn't overtax yourself on the application itself. But you didn't give us a plot plan. You gave us a septic plan. And frankly, I spent some time trying to decipher it. It isn't visible what you're looking for on that plan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I simply, just for ease, I just simply did the same application that I did last time and that had worked. So my apologies then if I didn't.
Wait, because the decision, I looked up the decision, we sent it out. Everybody has had a copy of the prior decision in 2017. And the decision refers to a plot plan done by, I think Cape Associated with somebody, but we don't have a copy of the plot plan. We have it looks to be like a septic.
Oh,
sewage
then my apologies. I must have included the wrong plan then. So my apologies on that.
Okay, so why don't you take us through what you're doing?
Sure. Okay, and again, thank you. So I'm at 36 Alden, right on by Priscilla Landing, and I have a deck in the back of my house. And I am doing, really, the way to think about it is two things. One, I am simply pulling out all the decking now, and it's an older deck, and just redoing the decking board. So I'm not doing anything with the footings, not doing anything with the structure, just replacing the decking board. So that's the first part. And the second part is I am extending the deck a little bit, maybe it's 12 feet. Sorry, I'm looking at this as I'm speaking to you. I'm just simply extending the deck several feet over and putting in just one sono tube. And that's it. It's simply redoing the decking and then extending it several more feet.
Well, in 2017, the decision refers to 7 feet extension.
Yep, okay.
So I don't know but the decision does not, it indicates that you have you're encroaching on you're not satisfying a setback, but it's not clear what the setback is to. It seems it might be to the Tom. Yeah, would you help us out here, Tom?
It's a setback to the coastal bank.
To the coastal bank. And is this a pre-existing non-conformance as it is?
Yes, it is.
So we're looking for an intensification. Here you go, Bruce, this is your issue. An intensification of a similar non-conformance. So how far from the coastal?
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
it's not simply the gravamen of this whole thing is it's not simply the intensification. One must address the impact on the neighborhood question.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but first we gotta
Okay,
find out what
fair
he's
enough.
seeking. Before we apply the standards, Bruce, we have to find out what he is seeking. So
He's seeking an intensification of, so the
Bruce.
sorry,
Let
I
me just-
apologize again,
Let me just get it. He's seeking, but I don't know how much. You know, we haven't talked yet about
apologize.
how far it is from the coastal bank. All right, let's establish that before we start getting into the arguments of the law here. So, Mr. Blue,
Yes,
you're extending this 7 feet.
yes.
Do you know how far your present deck is from the coastal bank?
I do not know. If
Tom,
it
can you
helps,
us? Wait, hold on, Mr. Blue. Tom, can you help us here? You have a plot plan there?
Yeah, I have the one that was stamped by and signed by Michael Marnick back in 2017. It was with my package.
I have that, but mine is a sewage disposal system map. It doesn't have the plot lines.
Is the prior approval the alleged prior approval that this is not here de novo because we decided previously to grant this? Is that where the granting happened? Is in the case number 2062 decided
Right, right. What happens was that, what happened, Mr. Taub, is that Mr. Baloo applied back in 2017. He had a hearing before the board. The board ruled in his favor. He had 2 years to act on that approval. Those 2 years have gone without action on the approval. So that approval is now void. And he's come back with the same exact application to do the same thing he applied to do in 2017 and was given permission to do in 2017.
Other than the fact that he wants a 12 or 17-foot extension.
No, that's exactly what he asked for. He's asking for a 7-foot extension, just as he asked for in 2017, Bruce. This is the
Okay.
exact same application that he had in
He's-
2017.
He's about 12 feet off the top of the coastal bank.
12 feet off with the new addition.
Yeah, it doesn't go towards the bank.
Oh.
It runs parallel.
So it's not increasing the nonconformity.
Well, it is, but it's still in violation to add it. I mean, it's already in violation. If you want to add on to it, you still need a special permit,
Okay, even though it doesn't increase the.
which he
encroachment.
received in 2017.
Yeah, but there's no further, it doesn't encroach further into the coastal bank.
It's very close. I can't tell exactly, but no, it might by a couple feet, but
Okay,
Depends on the tide.
okay, so does everybody understand what's before us? It would have helped Mr. Baloo if we had a plot plan, but
Understand. I'm sorry.
it seems to me we can either go forward or continue this to the plot plan. I think we know, I think thanks to Mr. Evers, we have some idea what the issues are. He's looking to extend this deck, which is non-conforming. And even though it may not encroach any further toward the coastal bank, just working on it requires a special permit. Is everybody on board with it? Oh, by the way, since I should say this, since there's only 4 regular members, Austin, you'll be voting on this. Okay, you got that. You assumed that. Good. Thank you. Lynn,
Yeah, I'm still fuzzy. I hear what we're saying now, but in the materials, I thought I read that the required setback is 25 feet, and this would be 22 feet, which doesn't add up to any numbers we're talking about now.
did you see that in this application today? Or the,
So I'm just
There
fuzzy.
wasn't- there wasn't much in this application. I didn't see anything except, frankly. I
Okay,
didn't see
it was in
anything.
one of the, the required pages. It said something about 25 feet required, 22 feet. And I wasn't clear whether
Yeah,
that
right.
was currently
Yeah.
with the new deck. But, Tom's saying it's 12 feet back from the coastal bank, so.
I'm working off a plan that doesn't have the scale left on it. So I'm
So it's.
measuring
I'm-
other
I'm-
lines and trying to give you an answer. It's close to the, it's in violation.
Yeah,
So- so
that,
what-
okay.
Lynn, what you've seen, I found it here. It's on page 6 of the application. It's the coastal bank setback calculation. The
Yeah.
building height is 8 feet. The required setback is 25 feet. The actual setback is 22 feet.
That's
So
what
it's 3 feet. Right.
Yeah.
So it's 3 feet. It encroaches by 3 feet into the setback.
Okay, and the new deck maintains that 22 feet? Or
That
that's,
seems,
or is that-
seems.
I was unclear, Jerry, whether that was the new deck or the old deck.
Yeah, well, I think the actual setback would be what he has today. And there would be a proposed setback, which I guess isn't changing. It's
That's my
just-
understanding, yes.
Yeah, it's not changing. It's not getting closer to the coastal bank, but just the fact that it is a nonconformity to increase it even away from so it's not, the new addition is not creating any intensification of the setback. It's just intensification of the nonconformity. but it's not increasing the, it's not getting, it's not encroaching further on the setback. You get that? I think I have a picture of it. Sibel, you got a question?
Yes, please. Doesn't this have to go to Conservation Commission?
Yes, I've already gotten the approval.
You have the approval for that.
Yes, I have. Thank you.
Bruce, you want to start arguing the law now?
I want to ask a question first,
Okay.
but it's legal. Are we bound by our prior decision?
No.
Fine. Then.
We're bound by a prior decision that wouldn't be here.
Then, I would respectfully request, given what I consider to be the significance of this addition in the location that it's in, I'd like at a minimum that the plot plan be part of our deliberations so that we're fully informed in that manner. And in as much as it's de novo, other than that we granted the special permit previously, which apparently that's not de novo, that binds us, is what I'm hearing. In any event, I'd like to see the plot plan before we make a decision on something that's 22 feet from the public beach at Priscilla Point.
Okay, Bruce, I don't know why you think the previous decision was binding. You asked the question.
If it's not, it's not. I'm happy with that. I asked if it was, and I was told that that was the decision. Pardon my tone.
But then you said, just said a minute ago, if it's binding, it's not
I'm
binding. It's de
Inquiring.
novo.
I don't know the answer to that. If the prior decision was not binding, then he has no special permit.
That's right. That's
We're
what he
not
said.
talking about an intensification. We're talking about something quote unquote de novo.
No, no, no,
Again,
no,
my
no, no.
attitude is terrible. I
No,
apologize.
no, Bruce, you're confused here.
Okay, I
The
accept that.
setback he has, I don't, it's a lawful setback determined somewhere in the past.
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question. Was it indeed determined in the past, or was it determined when this decision was made in the 2017?
No, it was already existing. That's the
Devers?
2017 decision is the exact replay of this decision, this case. Okay.
Can I just ask for a clarification?
So in 2017, it was a approved nonconformity. All right. Now, if you want to know how it was approved in the past, I don't know that that helps us at all, Boris.
Well,
Mr. Baloo, can you shed any light on this?
Mr. Andrews.
I don't recall. I recall there being a hearing and I recall it being straightforward. I don't recall a lot of discussion.
When did you purchase the house?
I probably purchased the house 6-7 years ago. 7-8.
Was the deck already there?
Oh, yes, yes, and if you saw the deck, it's been there a while. That's why I'm redoing this. The deck is not in great shape.
Okay, I don't know that we need to go back into history to find out how this nonconformity happened. It probably happened before, I would guess, just a guess, that it probably happened when the zoning law was amended to include a setback requirement on the coastal bank, is what I'm guessing. And it's a grandfathered nonconformity.
That's
Good.
correct.
I think most of the nonconformities around the coastal bank have that history.
I
But,
accept that. That was helpful to me. Thank you. I accept that.
okay. So, Mr. Tubbs, so you want to put this off until we have a plan?
Well, I think that from a prudence perspective, that we should have a plan when we're making a decision of this, dare I say, magnitude relative to the decisions we make. So that's just a suggestion. I will defer to the chair on that.
No, I think it's required of the applicant to have it's right in the the conditions of the application, you have to give a plot plan. Lynn?
Yeah, I am, on one hand, I understand, Mr. Baloo, you know, you're here, you're just trying to get something that was already approved reinstated, but I'm uncomfortable as well without a plot plan, because you know, encroachment on the coastal bank to me is important. And we have no plot plan. We're just told it's this, you know, so I really would like to see it in this case to feel comfortable voting on this case.
Okay, Sibel?
I agree with that. We should request a proper site plan.
I actually agree with it too, and I sort of made that snide remark about overtaxing himself on the application. And no one picked up on. I thought it was funny, but no one else did. Mr. Blue, you put us in an awkward position. We really can't approve this without knowing what we're approving. And the one plan that you've submitted is a sewer plan, and I don't think it shows us what we need to see. I couldn't even make out exactly what the deck is. I didn't know whether. I think we're going to have to continue this until you get a plot plan that shows us what you have and what you're seeking.
Okay,
All
okay,
right.
I understand.
All right, do I have a motion to, do you want to, it'd be helpful to us if you could get an estimate of time, how long that will take, Mr. Baloo, and we can continue it to that date?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to get back to you folks then, because I'd like to do it obviously as soon as I can. So I will do everything I can to expedite it.
Why don't we I'll entertain a motion to continue this case until our first meeting in May.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. I'll call the roll, as we have to call the roll without, so I'll do it as you are on my screen. Sibel,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Austin,
Aye.
I am too. So it's 5-0. Sorry, Mr. Blue, but if you get us a plot plan, we can engage in this discussion again.
I'll
Thank
look
you.
forward to, I'll look forward to seeing you all next month then.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Blue.
You as well.
Thank you very much.
All right, the next case is case 2189, Happy Jacks LLC. It's a rare application for a variance, so this should be interesting. I found it very interesting. Do we have someone representing Happy Jacks? Is there anyone out there in the audience, you know, with?
Is someone with their hand
I'm
raised?
letting in Bob Perry. This is like.
Can I inquire who Michael Cole is respectfully?
I am an abutter at 244 Tunset Road.
Thank you.
I think I'm with you now.
Hi, Mr. Perry. You
Hi,
wanna
how do you
tell
do?
us-
Thanks for having us. I believe the principal with the Happy Jacks Holding, Alex Maslick, is with us tonight. I believe his wife Ashley had a baby yesterday. He
Oh,
may be
congratulations.
sleeping. He may be here.
She's not sleeping, but I'm in the hospital with her here. So if you
Oh,
hear any noise,
congratulations.
thank you.
That may be a first for our ZBA.
Yeah.
Participant in the maternity ward.
Yes.
Thanks for being here, Alex. I know it must be something, and congratulations. So for the record, I am Bob Perry. Company is Cape Cod Engineering. I've been around the area a long time, but I don't get to come into the Board of Appeals in Orleans much. And so I've been working with Alex on the property at 236 Tonset. And it is a variance application. I know that you often have attorneys representing cases before you, especially for variances. This is a land use complication having to do with the physical character of the land. And I believe Alex has decided that I may be able to explain it to you best. And what I'd like to do is just let you know that we filed the application with the building plans. We have a detailed plot plan with the relative zoning information on it. It's a combined plot plan, septic plan for a building permit. And I'm hopeful that you've had a chance to look at it. We have a site, just to describe it. Oh, go ahead.
No, I actually, did you prepare this application?
I did.
Yeah, I thought it was well done.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll just go through the salient points because I think it's important if you are familiar with this location. It's really a stark depression, but it is a building lot. It's a panhandle that really takes the building site approximately 250 or more feet off of Tonsett Road. And the access way in here is a established driveway, but it's very steep, but it's negotiable till you get down near where you might need to turn a car around in a driveway. And the soil conditions here are, there's quite a bit of fill that was added in some locations. There's a lot of clay. And we've investigated the site at length. And the determination was made that some regrading is needed to make this lot safe, practical for the long term. So that the memo that we submitted with this application goes into an outline that would be condensed as findings of fact for the grant of variance. And we're not unaware that your job in the granting of a variance is to find that the 4 connective criteria are met. And of course, that's always subjective, but we believe some of that is quite obvious in this case. And I'll just take you through it if I can.
Please do.
What we submitted was a narrative that described that if you don't make grading changes to this building area, which is the only building area on the body of the lot, the building area is surrounded by steep slopes that go up on 3 sides and a precipitous drop off on the west side. The quality of the soil, the depression nature of the building site is highly disadvantageous if you just were to build a house there. So our site plan proposes a regrading to lift the land slightly, that if we take this particular home, which is a gambrel style, sort of a contemporary gambrel style home, it would absolutely meet the Orleans height limit if it were built on a common lot, a flat lot, or even a crowned lot from the street. A couple of things here. If you let water collect in this area, you get weak, slurry soil because it's of a clay texture. You have foundation water problems. You have septic system related water competition problems. And all of these coalesce to create a long-term problem if someone were to come and build this house without taking necessary precautions to improve the drainage. So this is what this is. And portion of the regrading is to create a safer circumstance for that driveway circle that you see on the plan. So when we look at the criteria for topography and soil conditions, we believe that this project and the site, really the lot, meets with those 2 complications that, if not addressed, cause for a hardship that would damage the investment this applicant is making in his home construction, because the type of problems that persist if you don't correct them are financially disadvantageous because the house will just have constant problems. So if that's an established understanding that we have clay soil, a hole basically that we're trying to cure, and we can do both of, we can cure that with regrading, with soil of a proper type that is firm and compactable, so water will run to the lower portion of the lot. We can overcome those disadvantageous conditions here that are related to the soil conditions and the topography. When we look at the two other criteria that relate to your granting of relief must not be substantially detrimental to the public good, and it must not substantially derogate from the intent or the purpose of your bylaw for building height limitation. So in addressing that, we did, of course, due diligence. I want to make sure you understand the applicant is not trying to obtain a view, and he's not trying to loom large over anything else. The relief, as we said before, is intended to cure shortcomings of the existing terrain to create a safer, convenient, and a functional building site. And the height, as I said earlier, will be below the 30-foot limit above the final grade, and that final grade will appear natural and still be in a depression. We are asking for the 2.6 feet of building height relief at a location that is 260 feet from Tonsett Road. And with that relief, the roof ridge will be only 3.7 feet higher than the street elevation of Tonsett Road. What we did next was we looked at the section 162.2 of the Orleans zoning bylaws. The purpose of this chapter, which is the zoning bylaws, to promote the health, safety, and convenience of the inhabitants of Orleans and to protect the welfare of the citizens. That's just a framework within which we go further. If you do research, you find that building height limits are intended to promote appropriate scale and traditional residential land use that contributes to and it respects the commonly seen character of neighborhood development patterns. If we didn't care about how things looked, I don't think there would be so much interest in building height, but the basis of a building height zoning limit is to govern how things are going to look. So the granting of this relief, if we accept the first two, that we've got serious and unique soil conditions and topography problems that are a hardship to the applicant. Substantial detriment is not going to result to the surrounding area in the sense, we're not confusing this with a special permit, but if the Board of Appeals can make the finding that the additional height, which is measured above the grade that will exist before we make the changes, that if that additional height can be seen as consistent with the scale of adjacent or nearby structures, that we're not offsetting the area's character, then the board could make that finding. And that I'll finish reading or paraphrasing what I've got here. Granting of the relief must be based on the board's finding that the relief granted from height limitation as a distance required to be measured from pre-construction grade on the street side of the building will not interfere or negatively impact abutting or nearby residential properties. Since the resulting site, once the construction is completed, with the improved function and safety, it will appear typical, and yet it will still be in the depression, significantly so, and that the granting of that relief, basically, from a common sense viewpoint, will not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent of the bylaw. So that's what we wrote, and that would be the basis of the findings of fact for the board's ability to grant the relief if you agree with it. So with that, I think I'll just open it up to any questions you might have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Let me start off. And you have 5 members of this board before you. One's an architect and one's an engineer. But for the other 3 of us, let me see if I can, because I'm sure they understand fully, but let me see if I can make this simple in my own mind, And then, so we can proceed. You have a hole you want to build a house in. And you have to, the soil at the needs some treatment. Otherwise, it's not a wise decision to build on that soil. So you want to raise, as I do my calculation, you want to raise the site by about 5 feet, 5 or 6 feet, I would guess, of the soil. If I work my numbers back, the house is 28.7 feet tall. So it's under the 30-foot height. But the fact that you want to raise the land, you have to measure from the original level. And if you raise it by anything more than 1.3 feet, you're going to bump into the 30-foot restriction. Even though if you only did it by 1.3 feet, you'd still be below grade at the road. Is that a fair statement of what's going on? Is that a?
It is. I'll just make one adjustment. We're the maximum amount of fill could be just over 4 to 4.5 feet, but we are looking at the street side of the building, and that's where we're making the change that affects everything. But yes, if we don't raise this to the extent that we have recommended, which puts us 2.6 feet over the 30-foot limit, we'll be about even with the street, with the roof ridge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very far down, but I think you understood the physical conditions here. Your summary was okay.
Yeah, okay. I have a question. It's probably more for Tom Evers. If let's just say, for example, this is here seeking town approval because the measurement of the height of the house exceeds 30 feet. If you were to come in with a ranch house, say of 10 feet, could he fill 19 feet of fill and below the 30 and not require any town approval?
Yeah, technically, yeah, he could,
Okay.
as long as it was
Maybe
compacted properly and certified.
So it's only the fact that you measure from the new raised height that you violate the 30-foot limit. And even by violating that 30-foot limit, you're only going to be 3.5 feet, 3.7 feet above the level of Tonsett Road.
Yes, that's the roof ridge.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
a very difficult lot.
Yeah, I guess.
They filled it with a lot of clean fill, but there was a lot of fill going on in there.
Yeah. So, but
Not where the house is, it's but where it drops off on the west side.
okay, I got it.
And kind of extending off of that question, in the other direction, you had a lot level with the road from the start, and you were to dig down, would that then allow you to have a taller house than what would normally be, I guess, a taller from the point of the foundation, because the original grade would be at a higher point?
Everything's based on the pre-existing natural grade.
Okay.
So if you wanted a certain height to your house and you wanted to clear land, yeah, you could do
Okay.
that.
It's interesting. This is interesting. This is a novel impression to me, and I find it very interesting. Other members of the board, questions or concerns you might have? Sibel?
I totally agree with the difficulty of the site and that a regrading is probably a good idea. So I don't, disagree with that aspect of the project, of the proposed project. But I do have some concerns, and I believe there are certain other options that I wonder if it was studied at all. So my question really revolves around giving a variance, substantial detriment to the public good. So substantial detriment to the public good could be many things. In this case, it's not a visual impact that could be negative or at all against the public good. But when you take an existing property and you make it buildable, obviously you're changing the site. And I wonder, by raising the land or what the driveway is made up of, are there any negative impacts for water management, erosion, any of that? Has the engineers, looked at that aspect? And then when I look at where the septic system was placed, I'm wondering why it had to be in that corner. It just seems to me like I have no problem that the grading, that it would need regrading. It's a good idea to regrade it and make the land a little bit higher. But why couldn't the building be pushed to be more at existing high grade to begin with? I wonder if that was at all studied and why that was not chosen. And then, as you were, pointing to, it seems like the design could be such that you could still have a proper house with 2 stories. You don't need that variance. I don't know why giving a variance is required here. In other words, that they could still raise the grade, work the property so that they have proper drainage, etc., and proper soil for the new construction. But why are they asking for a variance, really?
May I?
Please,
May I?
please.
Oh, thank, all good topic. I'll try to go to answer your points. There is no other location on the lot that there's a plateau, but it's a depressed plateau. Those contour lines you see that are concentric are 2-foot contours and they rise abruptly. So there's no gain vertically by moving the house from one location to another, unless we were to move it to the southwest, which would fall off the cliff and drop about 20 more feet. The driveway is gravel, and I will underscore, I've done a lot of wetland and sensitive land area representation and careful work, and there are no wetlands or sensitive areas here. Driveway runoff is being disposed of responsibly, and there's a lot of land to the left of the driveway where that will infiltrate into an area that's not near the house if we regrade. One thing that's important that you mentioned, and I appreciate it, is the detriment to the public good. I know that it's a broad category. I don't believe that there's a significant detriment to the public good by this driveway, because this driveway will be here regardless. In fact, with the proper changes, the driveway will have less slope and it won't gully out as readily. And also, I may offer that the detriment to the public good, it may relate to the variance relief that's requested, which is building height. And the house that's proposed here, and it's not lost on me that if you had a different house, you could possibly get this done and not need 2.6 feet of relief. But this is the house that the applicant worked on to design and presented to me. And that's why we're before you here. We believe that to use that old expression, at the end of the day, this will, many would not know that a change had been undertaken here. so that we would not have any visual detriment to the public good. And I believe the other concerns relative to groundwater quality and other collateral negative impacts, I don't find any way to find that those would be significant in any way. So I would appreciate those comments, but I don't believe that they stand in the way of the grant of variance, given the topography, the proposed project, the soil conditions, and the reasoning for if the board can find that that detriment doesn't exist and that we are not running counter to the purpose and intent of the bylaw.
If I may,
Please.
so would you, then what you're saying is that you couldn't move the existing, the footprint that you're proposing to more to the east, like northeast, and take your septic system and put it on lower grade? That's not a possibility.
That's one of your points that I forgot to answer. You can see some soil testing symbols on the plan. We've checked this site thoroughly. And this relates to soil conditions as well. The only permeable soil that's available for siting a subsurface sewage disposal system is where the septic system is located.
I
So
see.
we're pinched. A big lot with lots of constraints.
Okay, I see. My area of concern is really that, and this is something that, you know, all the board members can help me with because I'm new on this board. If we were to grant this variance, doesn't this create a non-conformity for the future? So now they could, you know, use that in the future to increase that non-conformity if they so please.
My thinking is that a variance locks the property into the conditions of the variance, and the board may offer their own reasoning. I don't believe that, I know that if you were to build something incorrectly and it went unnoticed for 6 years in Massachusetts now, that nonconformity would become a compliant nonconformity. I know Tom can weigh in on this, but with a variance granted, there's a specific set of facts that are found to exist. They go in the record. It locks the approval into a case of all its own. Doesn't set a precedent. It's isolated, but I will stop there.
Tom, can you speak to that?
Well, I believe everything he said is correct. I mean, we don't get variances very often. So I'm not as up to speed, but
Yeah,
I assume that any case that came forward later, you know, other cases, the past cases would be involved in that application, and obviously the board would know the what's existing there,
yeah.
what was
right,
done in the past.
Right, right, right. All right, Mr. Cole, let's do the board first. Bruce, you have a question?
I do, and now it's honest to God slipped right past me. So truth is stranger than fiction. I'll defer to, other members of the board. I think what I want to say really is that after more than a decade on this board, I still am challenged by the difference between a variance and a special permit. I just have to admit that continues to plague me, but I understand clearly that this is a variance request. I got that part. And I also think that the notion that there's almost no other appropriate use for the property, I would suggest that creates the hardship that I think we're looking for, but that's all I got to say.
Lynn, do you have anything, any questions or comments?
Just a general question, I guess. And this is sort of from someone who isn't an engineer or an architect. Is this lot suitable for a house?
My belief is that it is, it's large. It just has terrain issues. And I grew up on a hill and I deal with a lot of cases. And as you know, from living around here, you've seen a lot of changes. This is in many ways easier on the land because we're not building something on a precipice. We're filling to make the water run where we want it to run and not toward the house. And as I said earlier, the driveway would be better. And it's primarily a site design that is, it's trying to correct the problem with the lot, which is done all the time. But here we have a unique case, and unique cases do come before boards of appeals for relief. And the variance versus special permit, it's different. There's findings of fact that everyone's aware or will be, that to grant the variance, you need to find that the circumstances here constitute a hardship to the applicant, which is financial or otherwise, and it's both. And that hardship must relate to the shape of the lot, which is not so much the shape, or the topography, which it certainly is, or the soil conditions, which it certainly is. So it's our belief that we have that. And of course, we're asking the board to agree, but the way I operate is I would want you to understand it so that you would realistically agree. Second thing, or third, fourth, is this concept of if you grant the relief to have this house basically a little better, a lot better than it would be, with virtually no discernible effect to the surrounding area or anyone's state of mind, you would not be derogating from the intent of the bylaw, which I believe is to prevent homes from looming high. We put that in our write-up that I researched on the Cape Cod Commission website for development theories. And I think it's commonly known, we would not want people to build towering homes. This is anything but that. And so this wrestling with those four criteria is it's our job to explain it to you, and it's your job to understand that we're telling you these are real problems, and you're the group that needs to decide if this relatively minor relief would be some derogation from the intent of the bylaw or the public good.
Mr. Higgins, anything?
The only thing I can think of is some of the clarifications listed under the summary part A for the hardships are related to the actual work that would be done to prepare the house to be built. It would be the increase of the fill that you'd be adding. And so things related to the driveway slope, runoff, septic system performance would be related to the actual filling, which is not the actual variance. The variance is on the house height itself. So with that, could you just expand a little bit more? I think you did. I just wanted to see if I can get it summarized. The hardships directly related to the house height.
Oh yes. I'll try. In order, first of all, the hardship is the circumstance that is presented because the lot has the characteristics that it has.
Mm-hmm.
That's the starting point. And that those characteristics are terrible soil, which in combination with poor drainage patterns is of double jeopardy. And so that's our starting point. The work that's necessary to cure those ills so that they are not as much of a hardship or a problem, because what we put in our write-up was that long-term water problems, soft, mucky soil because it's clay and it won't drain properly, that's a hardship if you don't change it. So that changing it is the grading, recontouring of the front yard. And because the house cannot be buried, the house comes up with that grade change. And as it comes up, it begins to exceed the 30 feet that we're measuring from ground elevation below the fill. So we've linked the hardship to the difficulties of the lot, not anything to do with the building height itself, except for the fact that the whole building must be raised with the grade. And when we do that, we collide with the literal interpretation or the literal reading of the Orleans bylaw, which says that the 30 feet must be measured from the pre-construction grade on the street side of the building. Now, I hopefully haven't confused you.
No, I think that answers. I think part of the question may be the height of the house itself from the base of its foundation to the top of the ridge line is, I think you said, is it 29?
28.7, I think.
27.
feet.
28.7.
Yeah,
We
is
have, the foundation to ridge is 27.5, 27.6 or 5, I can't read it. So,
27 and change.
Yeah.
And with that, I guess the real question I'm curious about is, does the hardship still exist if the house happened to be 2.6 feet shorter? Would additional hardship be there if the house was shorter and naturally fell within the regulations that we currently have? You know, certainly you'd have loss of attic. You would have, you know, maybe some other. If this was presented us as a 25-foot foundation to ridge line, it would not need the variance while still fixing all of the issues with the lot itself.
you've raised a good point. One I mentioned earlier, that this application is before you with this house. And yes, let's say a standard cape could work.
I imagine there was some
This
amount of.
isn't a standard cape.
Apologies. Oh, sorry, I might have been breaking up. I guess with that, I imagine there was some financial, burden that was placed to create to generate this house plan and to make it the way it was. I just want to make sure I'm separating mentally the issue with the lot itself and the house height.
Yes.
So I think if there's a hardship directly related to the redesign of the house, the loss of usable space in the house, I think that might be helpful information.
I think it's fair to say that it would be going back to a certain square one to get this to a different style altogether. Yes.
Sibel.
That's good for me.
Sibel.
Yes, thank you. What I was going to just add is that this hardship that is being discussed related to the topography, the site itself was there. So the applicant purchased it, I would think, knowing that this was a difficult site to deal with. So, the hardship only goes so far, really. And so that's, one area that I don't know how everybody else may feel, but that hardship, it's nothing that was a surprise. It's an existing conditions. And it's so visually obvious because you go there and the whole site just sinks in. And then in terms of, you could build on such sites, and, you know, I appreciate what is being done by raising it, bringing it, you know, better soils. And I understand about the septic hardship as well, where to place it. And right now, yes, to go back and redesign it could be a hardship as well financially. But, you know, then such a site really should not have been presented with a house that should be on a flat parcel. So they're trying to bring in a house that's really not suitable for this property. And then they're asking for a variance. So variances are difficult to grant. And this one definitely does, you know, the topography does raise the question, you know, does it meet that standard for a variance? But I just find it difficult that when there's choices that could have been selected without having to request a variance, which is a possibility, or was a possibility.
Well, you know, Sibel, I'd like to respond to that, but I'm gonna wait until I hear from, I think that's a good point. I think we ought to talk about it. It's a philosophical point. And I'd like to respond to it philosophically, but first I'd like to hear from Mr. Cole, who's been very patient here, and I'd like to see what his comments are on the lot, on the proposal. Mr. Cole.
Good evening. Thanks for allowing me to ask two quick questions. Yeah. So the first one, this property is, I'm at 244 Tonsett, so this is kind of in my backyard to the left. And my just clarification, 30 feet above the existing grade is the issue, but is it accurate to say that the existing grade is not the initial grade? My understanding and my experience is that quite a bit of fill was put in already. So that's my first question.
I believe
That area of the lot was
that
not,
there was extensive.
Tom, you want to answer that?
I spent a lot of time there when they were filling that lot. That's the area where they did not fill.
Okay.
Okay. Filling anywhere else, building anywhere else on that lot, to me, is building on uncompacted fill. So that's the most natural place for that house.
My second question is there any way to evaluate the risk of runoff towards the property behind our house and the chance of accumulating water and mosquitoes and whatnot? It sounds like this will be raised up to 6 feet, at least in one area, and I'm not sure what the drainage, the topography will be after the fill, but I'd be interested to know.
Mr. Perry, your response to that?
Yes, okay, sure. Well, with many lot redevelopments, the vegetation improves while there's going to be a roof runoff. That runoff would be controlled. There's a large area on this lot. I can't tell you the area of it, but I'll venture a guess that it's on the order of 10,000 to 15,000 square feet that is pretty much unusable. And it is an area that's very steep. There's a lot of growth down there. I would speculate, and that's the only thing I can do because I'm not going to be doing drainage calculations at this meeting. But my speculation is that with the conditions there today, I know that the conditions going forward are going to be more. It has been going on there in the last 5 years. So I don't think there would be any collateral problems.
Mr. Perry, You're breaking up and we missed that. Could you recite the last couple of lines again?
Yeah,
You were breaking
I'm
up.
sorry. Yeah, going forward, the vegetation quality on this lot will get thicker and it will be improved going down into that low area. So that runoff should reduce because vegetation, you don't see water running in rivules and streams in the wood.
Now we lost. Mr.
There's going to be a
There-
drainage problem resulting from this.
There is a general bylaw in town that water that's generated on the lot needs to remain on the lot. So if there was any kind of runoff, that would be something they gave it to, it's not a zoning bylaw, but I enforce it.
Yeah.
So that would come to me at that point and they would have to make changes.
Understood. Yeah.
Mr. Cole, do you have other questions, Mr. Cole?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone else out there in Radio Land, whoever? Is there anyone else out there wishing to speak or make a comment either for or against this petition? I don't know who's working the.
I see a hand
microphone.
raised. I'm gonna let him in right now.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cole, while we're waiting, do you know what parcel, what map and parcel your lot is? I can see the ones that are surrounding it here. You would know offhand, could you?
Give me a second.
All right.
I can look it up maybe.
The low point is approaching map 19 parcel 64 as I read this. And again, not my fault, as they say.
I'm doubtful that Mr. Cole was noticed that as in a butter because he wouldn't be here. Oh, he is there. Michael Cole,
Yeah,
that's 1971. And I'm looking for you, 1971. Oftentimes, the abutters are not a direct abutter for zoning filings. They're abutters to abutters at times.
Yeah,
We've got-
300 feet.
Yeah, so we don't show map 1971, but you were noticed for this meeting as an abutter, so you might be a party in interest.
But you're not directly abutting this property.
Not that I can see.
Yeah, okay, all right. All right, Mark Harsh has joined us. Mr. Harsh, you wish to make a comment or a question?
Yeah, mainly a comment. I'm at 238 Tonsett, so I'm directly in front of Alex's property that he's talking about building on. And I just want to say first, Alex, congratulations on being a new father. And the next time you're up on the property, we're just next door, and I look forward to meeting you.
Thank you.
And I'm next door. In full disclosure, I'm next door to Michael Cole, who just happens to be my brother-in-law. So, and I actually thought,
It's a big family night here on this.
yeah, it's family night. I actually thought from looking at the maps, and Thomas Evers would know better than me, but I actually thought Michael was in a butter of about 5 feet, where his side property goes down, I think, onto Alex's for a few feet. Could be wrong, that's how I read the map, but I abut, like I said, just above, a lot of the property we're talking about. Overall, I'm fairly new to planning meetings, so in my house in New Jersey, I've attended a few. 2 feet doesn't seem like a huge deal to me. And it seems, being a person who's tried to do plans in the past, I think it'd be a real pain to try and redesign a whole house for a couple of feet. So unless there's something I'm absolutely missing here, I think it'd be on the side of being a good neighbor. I can't imagine, having a problem with it. My wife is next to me and I think she feels the same way. And I hope you do, Michael. But maybe we'll talk later and there's something I'm missing. But it seems like a small request, and to send a guy back to redesign, you know, a whole house, and cost that would entail, it wouldn't, I wouldn't feel right personally.
Thank you, Mr. Harsh.
Thank you.
I'd like to go back and sort of engage in dialogue with Sibel on the point that she made, and it's a philosophical point. It's clear that the applicant could devise a house for this lot that didn't require our approval, that could be built without a variance. But, and I think it's also clear that they have built a house and they have designed this application to be a minimal, violation requiring the finding of a variance. This is the owner of the lot. He's seeking a variance for a very minor infringement. He could build a house by a matter of right that would be ugly and unsuitable for the neighborhood. He's come in with a plan that is in keeping with the style of the houses in that neighborhood and throughout Orleans. The variance is it's a 2.5 foot variance. You might even have argued from a site perspective, and I won't, that if he raised it higher, it would be even better looking for the neighborhood. The neighborhood might be improved by a house that wasn't so far low below the ground. So philosophically, I think, yeah, we could say, no, you can't build this house. You shouldn't have to come here for a variance. You can build a one level log cabin that would look terrible in the neighborhood. So I think, from my perspective, it's a reasonable request. I think it meets the criteria of a variance on all fours. I think it's a kind of we've never seen one that to me was so perfectly matched with the definition of how you give a variance and when you give a variance. And I'm respectful. I'm very sympathetic to the fact that they came in, designed this thing to be only a minimal excess over the standard. And I think if we force them to go back, I think it's unnecessary. That's just my point. That's a philosophical point. I almost wonder, you know, if I was a neighbor, I might want them to go a little bit higher than to have just 3 feet showing above the street. But that's not what they're here for. And I'm not an architect. I'm not an engineer. I'm just a dope who did great to be chairman here. So I'm happy to engage with you, Sibel, but that's just a philosophical point.
Okay, if I may just say, I appreciate what you say. You know, I agree with those comments that you made. I think the only area that I'm questioning is what are the implications of granting a variance, not just for this right now, for what they're proposing, but for the future, and also how it affects future, you know, decisions, or how past decisions were made in this board. So I'm not clear on the implications, because as Tom Evers noted, variances are difficult to approve, to grant, and it's usually not granted. So it's a legal thing that I don't really understand so much right now. I would like to understand. I would like to, you know, approve this, because it's not such a huge thing that they're asking, but I just don't understand the big picture yet.
I think what you're circling is an issue we've been circling since the day I joined this board, and that is precedence. What value does precedence have in zoning issues? And I think we've gone back and forth on that, and I think that there's very little of precedential value that we do. In each case is sui generis. This case is clearly sui generis. We don't get a lot of requests for variance. I think it's only been on 7 years, second or third. So I'm not worried about a rash of people coming in with unusual land formations that call into question the need for a variance. I don't think that's going to be, I don't worry about this setting a precedent for people rushing in here looking for more variances, frankly. And this is so minimal that we could distinguish this from almost any other request we're going to get, I think. But
Thank
that's
you.
just- Are there any other questions or comments or concerns?
I'm concerned about the water, but we have the proper certified engineer's plan and all of that. I also may never have an opportunity to inquire of the homeowner, but prior to purchasing this, it's I don't know, there's something courageous that flies in the face of known dangers, which is what I think is important in Sibel's query, as I understood it. The precedential value, we've agreed. The chairman stated that very clearly. There is none, because there's so much that has to go into each consideration that's unique and perhaps determinative. So I got all of that, and I'd like to be reassured about the water here. I just, as a layperson, I'm concerned. Go ahead, Tom.
There's a bylaw.
Yeah.
There's a bylaw that says any water generated on a lot must remain on the lot. If
So
there
is
is an
there
issue with the
provision?
water, it will come before me and it will have to be corrected.
Well, isn't an ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure?
Well, I think that's what they're trying to do with their redesign.
Is this ultimately going to require some kind of pump or connection to a sewer that goes that far into Tonset Road?
Only if the sewer comes down Tonset Road.
Yeah, okay, so that's not where we're going immediately.
No, no. It's harmless as the lot gets developed for residential. The sand slope, the earth slope that's off to the west is going to be, it will vegetate. Though I said it earlier, but the runoff is anticipated to reduce.
Yeah, looking at I mean, as a layman here, looking at the top graphical lines, it doesn't seem like there's much of a place for water to go that's not to the southwest, southwest of the lot.
I'm willing to accept what the building commissioner said. If it's a problem, they'll have to deal with it. And that's good enough for me. That's the answer to my question about my water concern. Thank you.
Okay, any other issues or comments or questions? Do we have a motion?
One moment, I have somebody with their hand up who may want to
Oh,
make
all
a
right.
comment.
Great. Sibel, your hand is still raised. Is that?
No, oh, no, I'm sorry. I need
Okay.
to take my hand off.
All right, thank you.
I'm letting in somebody called Scott.
I hope he's a part of somebody's family here on family night.
You're in rare form, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I'm just trying to fill dead air. Makes me nervous.
We're celebrating the birth. That's what's exciting all of
Yeah,
us.
it's very exciting. Is it a boy or a girl?
Okay, there we go.
The girl.
Hello?
Scott.
Yes, my name's Scott Smith. I apologize. The camera on my computer is broken, so I can't share my smiling face with you.
That's fine.
But my wife and I actually just bought 23 Hidden Valley Road last week. So we haven't moved in yet. We'll be moving in May. We are abutters. I think Austin was saying that the only place the water has to go is to the southwest. I think that would be us. That's, I think we own that property, and that's also the side of the property where our septic system is. So I guess I wanted to hear from the experts that I shouldn't be worried about the water coming over to our property and doing something to my septic system, which is 13 feet below the ground.
Mr. Smith, do you know what your lot number, what your parcel number is, or so I can find you on this map?
I don't. I think we're the abutters directly south and west of this land.
Right, is it 23 Hidden Valley, did you say?
23, yeah, we own 23 and 25.
Okay, so you have an L-shaped, 23 is an L-shaped parcel, would you say?
Yeah, there's a panhandle that goes out to the road with our driveway.
Got it. I'm looking at it on the assessor's records. You are an abutter, no question. You know how the land drops down to your.
Yeah, I think we're thinking that's why it's called Hidden Valley.
Yeah,
but-
it could be. But yeah, there's so much area on the applicant's property that if you know what the conditions are there today, where the grass is very sparse, there's limited vegetation on that slope. There's a kind of a sand or earth road that goes down the hill. As I've said, the appropriate way to develop this land is to control roof runoff. And our objective, of course, is to get runoff away from the house. And yes, the runoff is going in the direction of the southwest or west, but it has an area on our own parcel that is about 15,000 square feet within which to infiltrate. There's not enough development here to create a stream or an overland flow that would affect you. In fact, the land flattens out at the bottom. We have a flat area way down about, I'll say about 20 feet below the building site. We have an area that's relatively flat, running about 7% isn't flat, but it's not steep. And there's about 70 feet of relatively gentle grade. I don't see any practical way that runoff from a residential house would affect you. And I say that with sincerity, and I'm making a general judgment, but with all those woods that lie between you, that's not changing. And I think your land is elevated. Is it fair to say that your land comes up from that depression?
It is, yes.
Okay, so
Mr.
no way
Perry,
that can affect your septic.
Mr. Perry, is he parcel 64?
1 second. I just had that.
What it appears.
You are, I think 64. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Smith, is that, you have further questions or comments?
No, thank you very much. We're just not experts in this. We're hoping to hear positive things, which we did. And Alex, welcome to the neighborhood. Yeah, we'll probably move in before you do. But,
Yeah, definitely.
Mr. Perry, the roof will have downspouts with dry wells, is that?
Yes, runoff is controlled. Yes, indeed.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions or comment? Anyone else out there looking to speak or comment?
No hands raised.
I'm sorry? There are no
No
hands
hands raised.
No hands raised. All right, thank you very much. All right, do we have a motion? Well, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we grant the variance as requested. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Sibel, thank you. Let me call the roll. First of all, any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I was curious if our policy was that after the proposal, we had discussion again, but
We will have discussion again. Do you have something to add, Mr. Todd?
I just, I'm interested in the discussion. And this is the opportunity to have it. And I just, the last speaker felt reassured about the water. I don't yet feel reassured, and I'm not sure why we're not saying whatever the ultimate solution shall be, we should make that a condition a priori.
Well,
So,
I think Mr. Todd, what the evidence has been presented is it won't be a problem. So we can't make a condition, it won't be a problem.
fair enough, fair enough, fair enough.
I think it's implied that it will adhere to the bylaw. That's kind of out of the scope of what we need to discuss here in my thoughts.
Okay, I will accept that as well. That was my concern, and I accept that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions or discussion? I think I made my point when I was responding to Sibel's philosophical discussion. I think my points were made.
So I would just make a comment, which leads to how I'm going to vote. My concern was that a design could have been done that didn't require a variance, and this one does. So the hardship was sort of created in a way by the applicant. But on the other hand, it is minimal, and I don't think it has an effect on the neighborhood. I'm trusting engineering wise that the water is not an issue, and Tom says if it is, they've got to deal with him. So when I balance all of that, I end up supporting it.
Okay.
But I had the same questions that other people have raised about it.
Yeah. Anyone else? Let me call the roll. Sibel,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Austin,
Aye.
Bruce.
I just want to say before I say aye, that's become a new tradition. We used to say yes, but aye is so nautical that it's appropriate for the Orleans zoning board. Aye.
I also,
But aye.
I'm
It's a
also in
nasty night
agreement.
out.
So that's
Thanks.
5-0, the variance is granted. Congratulations, Alex, but more importantly, congratulations on the birth of your daughter.
Thank
Much-
you.
Much more important than even this variance,
Yes, I agree.
as important as this is.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everybody.
Nice to
Mr.
meet you,
Chairman.
Alex.
You
Mr.
too. Look
Chairman,
forward to meeting everyone in person.
Any other business to come
You're
before
on.
the board?
Mr. Chairman, it's Bob Perry. Just one final thing. I will
Sure.
craft at least a draft decision for you using the findings of fact that we listed in our memo. And I thank you all. It was an excellent spirited discussion, and I'm grateful for the depth that you went to here. Thank you.
Mr. Perry, you made a nice, I think the written presentation was good and your oral presentation was just as good. You represented your client well here tonight.
Thank you, sir. And good night. Congratulations, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
So we have a motion to adjourn. All in
Thank
favor?
you.
Any opposed? Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Feel better, Jen.